Each picture should have only one principal idea, topic, or center of interest to which the viewer's eyes are attracted. Center of interest. A picture without a dominant center of interest or one with more than one dominant center of interest is puzzling to a viewer. The viewer becomes confused and wonders what the picture is all about. When the picture has one and only one dominant point of interest, the viewer quickly understands the picture. Some of these elements are lines, shapes, human figures, tone, and texture. Try to avoid placing your subject in the middle of the frame. It makes the picture uninteresting to look at. Rule of thirds. This is an easy way to create emphasis, balance, and interest in your work. Can you spot how the rule of thirds were used in the following examples? Connected to the center of interest and composition is emphasis. Emphasis is the focal point in a composition. It is where one area stands out or draws the viewer's eye. The photographer decides to do this through various techniques. This can be done through framing, composition, and by contrast. A photographer can show emphasis through framing choice, whether he uses a vertical or horizontal format, or he might show emphasis by the placement of the subject, governed by the rule of thirds. Angle or viewpoint. Various positions of the camera, high, medium, or low, left, right, or straight on, can give a different viewpoint, perspective, or visual effect. The proper viewpoint or camera angle is an important factor in good composition. Repositioning your subject within the viewfinder frame and changing the camera viewpoint or camera angle are two simple ways of controlling composition. Another is light and shadows. Lighting is an important creative element of composition. By controlling the light and directing it where you want it, you can subdue objects or distracting elements in the scene to give more emphasis to the main point of interest. Light and shadow can be used in composition to create mood, to draw attention to an area, to modify or distort shape, or to bring out form and texture in the subject. Shadows are a key to apparent form in photographs. Without shadows, the subject records without form, curvature, and texture, appealing, flat, and lifeless. Framing is a technique photographers use to direct the viewer's attention to the main subject of a picture. Position around the subject, a tree, an archway, or even people, for example, can create a frame within the picture area. Subjects enclosed by a frame become separate from the rest of the picture and are emphasized. Looking across a broad expanse of land or water at some object can make a rather dull and uninteresting view. Moving back a few feet and framing the object between the trees improves the composition. Through linear perspective, lines can lend a sense of depth to a photograph. Parallel lines appear to converge, creating the illusion of depth. Vertical, diagonal, horizontal, and curved lines create different moods. Vertical lines communicate a sense of strength, rigidity, power, and solidarity to the viewer. On the other hand, horizontal lines represent peace, tranquility, and quietness. Diagonal lines represent movement, action, and speed. A picture with diagonal lines conveys a feeling of dynamic action even when the subject is static. Patterns, both natural and man-made, bring a sense of visual rhythm and harmony to photographs. Patterns appear whenever strong graphic elements, lines, colors, shapes, or forms repeat themselves. Creating your pictures around repeating elements or patterns provides picture unity and structure. Pattern repetition creates rhythm that the eyes enjoy following. The lines, shapes, and colors within a picture occur in an orderly way. They create patterns that often enhance the attractiveness of photographs. Texture can bring a tactile dimension to your photographs. Framing is important too, especially when you want to give texture a leading role. Texture helps to emphasize the features and details in a photograph. Contrast is using elements that conflict with one another. Contrast can create interest in a work or direct the viewer's attention to a particular point of interest within the piece. Some example could be using complementary colors, opposite colors on a color wheel, value, light versus dark, size, large versus small, texture, smooth versus rough, age, old versus new, space, positive versus negative, line, thick versus thin or long versus short, shape, organic versus geometric, subject matter, pleasure versus pain. Contrast is an effective means of detecting the viewer's attention to the center of interest. Positioning of subject elements to create contrast gives them added emphasis and directs the viewer's attention. The arrangements of elements so that no one area overpowers. Balance includes how all the elements are arranged to create stability in a piece of work. The subject placement within the picture area is the factor that must be carefully considered. Composition is kept in balance by two different methods. Symmetrical and asymmetrical conveys balance and proportion in photography. It is a form of pattern that illustrates spatial awareness, often through reflection and rotation. Using symmetry or asymmetry is an artistic tool, allows one to fully explore different compositions. Reflections can be an example of this. Color can help tell stories, and it can be used to communicate on an emotional level. Color can make a photo feel exciting, lively, or sad. Color may also simply be used as an element to focus on when taking photographs. Rhythm or movement. Having a repetition of elements in your photo can produce the look and feel of movement. Movement is the path the viewer's eyes takes through the work of art, often to focal areas. Such movement can be directed along lines, edges, shape, and color within the work of art. Negative space. Using negative space or empty space can give your photograph an entirely different feel. Negative space can add a stronger emphasis on the subject and evoke emotions or moods. Depth or field. Depth of field is the amount of distance between the interest and farthest objects that appear in acceptably sharp focus in a photograph. Depth of field depends on the lens opening, the focal length of the lens, and the distance from the lens to the subject. Portrait tips. When taking a portrait, don't forget to try different angles. Also have your subject look down or to the side for a few shots. When taking a portrait, try to get your subject to move their eyeballs around. It will loosen them up and the photo result may be surprisingly good. Try to capture candid moments and emotion. Your photos will look more genuine. Everyone has spatial details about them. Features, interests, likes and dislikes. Why not try to capture them in photos? Try profile pictures. They can often feel more dramatic. If so, get your subject in front of a simple background. Get close for portrait photography, especially when taking photographs of children. Avoid busy backgrounds when photographing a person or object. Try different crops. Try super close-ups to highlight someone's eyes or smile. Try full body shots with a lot of negative space to highlight a pose or the environment. These are the further tips. Try shooting a subject from a variety of viewpoints. From above, at the same level, looking up, from various different angles. If you are photographing a subject that has movement, don't worry so much about composition. Instead, keep snapping away or you might miss a spatial moment. Technical correction can be made later. Avoid using flash. It yields unnatural results most of the time. Be aware of your light source, where the light is coming from and how strong it is. It is usually best to shoot photos in morning and early evening sunlight instead of harsh afternoon sun. Overcast and partly sunny days also make for good lighting. Take vertical as well as horizontal photographs of the same subject to see which best captures your subject. Compose photos in which your focal point is not always in the dead center of the composition. Experiment with putting your subject matter in a corner of the composition or slightly off center. Capture as much light as you can, especially if you are using a cheaper camera. Move or ask your subject to move to the best light source as possible. If using a cell phone camera, get close. Use your cropping skills to fill the frame and find the perfect angle. Try experimenting with some camera apps and effects. Remember, make it a habit to take photos daily. The camera you use doesn't matter. but the act of taking the photo does. There is no better way to improve the photography than to simply do it and do it often.